Your Excellency, Mr. Secretary General Rutte, esteemed Director of the University of Sarajevo, professors, students, members of diplomatic corps, journalists, and NATO representatives. It is my great honor to welcome you to the Faculty of Political Sciences. Today's event is a testament to our commitment to open dialogue and to the strong partnership between Bosnia and NATO. We deeply appreciate Secretary General Rutte's leadership and engagement, especially at a time when security challenges require unity, determination, and strategic foresight. While public opinion in Bosnia-Herzegovina may differ on certain aspects of NATO integration, a clear majority firmly supports the country's Euro-Atlantic path. NATO has been a key pillar of peace and security here, playing a decisive role in ending the war and securing the Dayton Peace Agreement. The alliance's continued presence remains essential in preserving that peace, especially now when we are witnessing deliberate attempts to undermine the country's constitutional order and push Bosnia toward instability. At this critical moment, NATO's engagement is more important than ever. The recent opening of NATO's political cell in Bosnia is a significant step in strengthening cooperation and institutional resilience. From the outset, this office has demonstrated remarkable activity, reinforcing the alliance's commitment to supporting Bosnia in maintaining stability. Any threat to the peace and security of Bosnia is also a challenge to NATO's credibility and a direct risk to member states that share borders with our country. Instability here could have a domino effect on the wider region, affecting not only our immediate neighbors, but also the broader Euro-Atlantic security framework. This is why NATO's continued engagement is essential, not only through political support, but also through concrete actions that reinforce Bosnia institutions in defending the constitutional order, ensuring that those who attempt to dismantle the country's stability are held accountable under the law is in the interest of both Bosnia and the broader transatlantic security architecture. Secretary General Rutte, your visit today carries immense significance. It sends a clear message of NATO's commitment to Bosnia and its institutions. I look forward to your insights and to a discussion that will further strengthen our partnership in upholding peace, security, and democratic values in the region. With that, I now invite you to take the floor.
Well, thank you, Professor Trusalo. It's great to be back in Sarajevo and to see the students from the university, as well as, I believe, from Mostar and Istočno Sarajevo. So, welcome to you all. Sarajevo is a beautiful city at the crossroads of cultures, where the past and the present come together. As a student of history myself, I've always been fascinated by this region's really complex past. And as a politician and a pragmatist, I'm excited about your prospects for a brighter future. I visited Bosnia-Herzegovina just over a year ago, together with my good friends, Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and Croatian Prime Minister Andrej Plenković. And I was here then in a different capacity as Dutch Prime Minister, and of course with a different mandate, to urge your political leaders to press on with the reforms necessary for the EU accession negotiations. But my message was the same. This country has an historic opportunity to set aside all differences and seize new possibilities. New possibilities that will put you firmly on the path of peace and prosperity, and allow you, the next generation, to flourish here in the heart mothers and sons who will never know that promise of a brighter future. It was a deeply moving experience and a tragedy that forever connects your country and my country. But while war defined your past, it should not determine your future. This year we mark 30 years since Srebrenica and 30 years since the Dayton Peace Agreement ended a conflict that cost over 100,000 lives across all communities. Dayton might not be perfect, but it remains the cornerstone of peace in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And it must be respected by all sides. Through IFOR and SFOR, and now supporting the EU's operation EUFOR Althea under the Berlin Plus arrangements, NATO has been with you every step of the way. We are working together with you to build a stronger defense and security sector and to modernize your armed forces in line with NATO's high military standards, including through our defense capacity building projects and your participation in NATO exercises. Because security creates the conditions for your economy to grow and for all citizens of Bosnia and Herzegovina to prosper. Our NATO headquarters in Sarajevo and our newly established, as you said, Professor, political cell also support your reform efforts. NATO and the European Union complement one another. Reforms that your country implements through its partnership with NATO can help you on your EU path. But unfortunately, we have seen a rise in dangerous rhetoric and political infighting. Statements alluding to the end of Bosnia and Herzegovina are deeply troubling. Threats of secession and inflammatory actions are eroding the hard-won security of this country and are dangerous. They risk derailing your progress and taking you back to a divided past. My message to your political leaders today was that it is time to put that past behind. It is time to show leadership and have the courage to move forward together for the benefit of all. NATO is firmly committed to Bosnia and Herzegovina's sovereignty and territorial integrity. We will not allow a security vacuum to emerge or the hard-won peace to be jeopardized. I'm sending the same message of responsibility and reconciliation to your neighbors in the region too. Tomorrow, I will be in Pristina, where our KFOR mission helps to ensure a safe and secure environment for all communities in Kosovo under its UN mandate. I also spoke to President Vučić before coming here. Serbia is a long-standing partner of NATO and an important country for regional stability. A stable Western Balkans region matters for us all. And I want to see everyone in the region working towards this goal. You only need to look to your neighbors in Croatia, in Montenegro and in North Macedonia to see the benefits that Euro-Atlantic integration can bring. I know that different views persist, of course, on NATO membership, but that in the end is a sovereign decision for your country and your country alone. In the meantime, NATO will continue to build on our strong defense and security cooperation and support your path to reform and reconciliation, because your future is worth striving for. Dear friends, I know the University of Sarajevo, like NATO, celebrated 75 years since it was created last year. 75 years of bringing new ideas and perspectives for your country and beyond. Now the baton passes to you, to the next generation, to close the door on a troubled past and work together for a strong, stable and successful future. The history of this city, this country and this region is deeply enmeshed with Europe's destiny. Your future should be too. So thank you for your attention, and I really look forward to our now starting discussion. Thank you so much.
To use the time efficiently, we will open the floor to the students' questions. So, please.
Do I need a microphone, or is it okay if I just...
Yes, coming.
Oh, awesome. Hello, everyone. I want to say good afternoon to everyone here present in the amphitheater and to the respected Dean and Secretary General. Your Excellency, I want to begin by offering my warm welcome to Sarajevo and a huge thank you for the Alliance's continued support in Bosnia and Herzegovina's sovereignty. And it's like you stole the words from my question. My name
We
is
had
Dia.
prepared together. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
My name is Dia, and I'm a student at the Faculty of Criminal Justice and Security Studies here at the University of Sarajevo. And as a part of the next generation of leaders, I was one of the NATO Student Challenge winners. And
Very good.
speakers at the at this October's P360 symposium, and I would like to ask you about a significant part in the NATO 2030 plan.
Yeah, perfect.
2030 plan. Amongst global threats and emerging challenges in security, the plan addresses the importance of younger generations in the process of decision making. So in what ways do you see NATO collaborating with local governments in the Western Balkans to involve young people in security and defense efforts, helping them see themselves as a key contributor to regional peace? Thank you.
Very good question.
One more.
First of all, good afternoon, and thank you for your time. Thank you for visiting Bosnia and giving us the time that we actually need right now. So, considering the escalating political crisis in Bosnia and Herzegovina, particularly the actions of Milorad Dodik, to effectively erase state competencies in the territory of entity Srpska, how does NATO plan to respond to ensure stability and prevent further escalation?
Yeah. Well, to start with the first question, of course, in NATO, when you would come to Brussels, maybe you've been at the headquarters, there are many young people working there, and it is really important. I'm so happy to hear that you are so motivated to do this, also studying at this wonderful institution. So we need young people to get involved, and security, our collective defense, it is worth striving for and spend time on. And we cannot leave this to the senior generals or to the senior older politicians. We need the young people to really step up. And by the way, I hope that you will live by the creed of saying sorry afterwards and not always asking for permission at the beginning, because that is important, otherwise nothing changes. So try stuff and push the boundary, push the envelope, and I guess you will. So thank you. And on the Dodik question, I already this morning had a press conference, and I made all the statements about us supporting the territorial integrity, the sovereignty. We will not accept a security vacuum. We want to work with Bosnia-Herzegovina to really further the NATO Bosnia-Herzegovina Security Cooperation, of course. And we call upon all people here to accept, when state institutions come to certain verdicts, to accept them, including upholding the office of the High Representative and the Dayton Peace Agreement. Having said that, this is not the whole answer, because there is more, and that's what I also very much stressed this morning, and that's about leadership. Because I know that some senior politicians here are irritated by the office of the High Representative, so you can endlessly debate it. But why have stuff coming there? But why not solve it before it gets to the High Representative? Because then you really take the power of this country back in your own hands. And this was basically my challenge to the Troika, the senior, the presidency, the three members of the Bosnia-Herzegovina presidency, saying, well, I know you are hugely divided on many issues, but you are the only show in town. Because you can point to whatever direction, but you have to do it. And I know them all three very well, well, two of them very well, the chairwoman and the Bosniak member, the Croatian member I've met a couple of times, but they all three I think, have what it needs to do it. But then you have to sit together, you have to dialogue, and you have to take this country forward. That's really crucial. And don't delegate this to a high representative. And when you ask me, of course, I will uphold that office. I will fully say that I am behind it, because it is an integral part of what we got out of Dayton. But it cannot be the whole answer. So stop quarreling was my message, and start taking the leadership of this country in your own hands. And I think the three of them could do that. So I hope they will. It's really important, because we are at a quite vital juncture now in history.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Sir, I think it's working.
Hi.
Yeah.
Welcome to Sarajevo. My question is, how closely is NATO cooperating with the European Union and the other international actors to address Republika Srpska leadership threats to sovereignty of Bosnia, and what additional steps can be taken jointly? Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Bosnia and Herzegovina. Thank you for coming in this time of needs. And my question for you is, how concerned is NATO about Russia's hybrid warfare tactics, including disinformation, campaigns, cyber attacks, and political interference in the Western Balkans, particularly given their potential to exacerbate ethnic tensions and undermine regional stability?
Well, thank you for both questions. On the first one, NATO is not here particularly looking at Republika Srpska. We are here to help for you guys in Bosnia and Herzegovina to build your armed forces, to get things going, and to support, of course, what the European Union is doing here. But it is not particularly geared towards Dodik or Republika Srpska or whatever. Of course, we are worried, and that's why I'm saying we cannot have a security vacuum in Bosnia Herzegovina, and we need for leadership to take responsibility. On the second question, this is a broader issue, not only the Western Balkans. And we have had a huge debate in NATO about this whole issue of hybrid threats, which I think sounds a bit cuddly. And these are not hybrid threats when you look at what happens all over Europe, not only Western Balkans. The cutting of undersea critical infrastructure in the Baltic Sea, the assassination attempt of the CEO of Rheinmetall, the undercutting by cyber attacks of the National Health Service in the United Kingdom, the jamming of commercial planes on the eastern flank of NATO. This is all taking place, and this is why, as an alliance, we are really stepping up now to make sure that we not only register what is happening, but also then act upon it. And that can be sometimes in an asymmetrical way, it can sometimes be direct. But for example, what we have now done in only 6 or 7 days, we brought together this Baltic Sentry mission in the Baltic Sea. After, on the 25th of December, this undersea sea cable was cut between Finland and Estonia. And we had a summit meeting early January on this. And here the interesting thing about NATO is that it can be sometimes a bit bureaucratic. But I found out that when the Supreme Allied Command in Europe launches something which is called an activity and not a mission, that we don't need 32 countries to approve. So from now on, we will only have activities and no missions. No, I'm kidding. But this one was really successful because it was brought together in only 6 or 7 days. It was under his remit. He could organize this, and I fully applauded it because we have to react faster, and the Russians hate it. All the evidence we are getting is they hate it because they see this, the EC, the Baltic Sea, whatever you call it, they also see it as their sea, which is logical because, of course, St. Petersburg is also, that port is also connected, of course, to the Baltic Sea. But it's not only their sea, it's also our sea. And when ships from the Shadow Fleet are cutting critical undersea infrastructure, we have to act. And that's what we're doing now. So this is an example of how we have to do this. Yes, Western Balkans. Yes, sometimes hybrid threats. Sometimes all these kind of campaigns. But it is happening all over NATO territory, and we have really to get a grip on this, and we are doing it now. Thank you. I should look at you. No, I do. This was your question. Yeah, to you. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, it's working now. Good afternoon. I would like to stay relatively on topic with the cyber threats question. There's recently been an AI summit in France where the EU has pledged about 150 billion, correct me if I'm wrong, to AI development. Following that, France has pledged an even greater amount of money in an AI program of their own. And after the two events, J.D. Vance has stated that the United States are planning to remain a leader in... J.D. Vance has stated that the United States are planning to remain a leader in the AI development. So my question is a two-part question. Are you worried that there may be a rift in the AI development happening within NATO for its uses for defense and security? And is NATO planning on developing programs for the use of AI in defense and security of their own?
Okay, good afternoon. I hope that you will enjoy staying in Bosnia and Sarajevo, regardless of the topics that you are for in Bosnia. My question is, during recent NATO meetings, you stated that Ukraine must negotiate from the position of strength. So how would a potential peace settlement perceived as favorable to Russia influence nationalist and separatist movements within Bosnia and Herzegovina?
Thanks. Yeah, on the first question, I mean, this is a healthy competition. And I think we need the US here, because the US is the leader on many of these developments. Look what happens on the west coast in the US, in Silicon Valley. It's about the size of the half of the country I come from in terms of the economy and the impact it has. About $500 billion economy there in Silicon Valley, in the Bay Area, so around San Francisco. And so much of all of this innovation and entrepreneurship and the startups, some literally still starting in the attic of the garage, as we think of this, and in an almost romantic way. But this is still the United States. And I'm not sure that you can completely get into competition with that from the government. I'm not so sure. And in the EU, sometimes people think that huge government investments will somehow then bring you into competition with some of these entrepreneurs. You need both, by the way. You need, of course, investments in your, like here in Sarajevo, in the university and other knowledge institutions. You need that. But you also need a conducive environment for young people to start a company, to be successful. You need a culture in which success is celebrated. Instead of, oh, you earned a lot of money, so now you're a bad guy. No, it's positive when you earn a lot of money. Myself, I'm not so much interested in money because I have other stuff on my mind. But if you love money, get it and be successful. And I applaud you, because probably you will then hire people. You will start new things. You will invent something, whatever. So I think you need both. And so I'm both with France and the EU on this, but also with J.D. Vance. And him saying, I didn't know that quote, but if he said the US will stay ahead, that's the sort of competition we need. That's positive, and that will not hurt NATO, because in NATO, when it comes to AI and quantum computing and all of this, we have programs to make sure that when it comes to the defense application here, we work together. We do it in NATO headquarters in Brussels through all kinds of initiatives. But particularly important here is Allied Command Transformation under Admiral von Jay, who works from the US to make sure that all over NATO we get our hands on the latest technologies. And in the past, they would think about the world in 2100. But since a couple of years now, and particularly with this new admiral leading that operation, it is not only about the world in 2100, but also about the relevance now. For example, this Baltic Sentry mission uses some of the insights from, where it comes to sea drones, some of the insights from this Allied Command Transformation. So we grab that together. A bit of a competition is no problem, and particularly not between the US and the EU. That's good. That keeps us all sharp. And again, speaking to the EU, create a conducive environment for young people to start companies and celebrate when they are successful. It really helps. We can not only do this from the state side. And on the second question, I mean, I think it is good that President Trump tried to break the deadlock on Ukraine. But of course, there is no peace deal yet. This is all still work in progress. There will be a meeting tomorrow between the Ukrainians and the United States. There has been a meeting between the United States and the Russians. And we'll have to take it from here. And in Europe, people are thinking of what could a security guarantee mission look like if that would be necessary to preserve a ceasefire / a peace deal in Ukraine. But I think President Trump is right. There is no peace deal yet, I would argue. But at the same time, you have to think, of course, already how to preserve a peace if it comes in the future. And there are many models to do that. And one of the models is now being worked through by the French and the Brits. So I think that is all positive, and hopefully we will get there soon. But obviously it has to be a good deal, because there is one guy who will at the end judge the outcome of all of this. And that is the General Secretary of the Communist Party of China, Xi Jinping. And if he feels that it was Russia coming out on top and not the West, he will start thinking, hey, that's an interesting development. What does it mean for my ambitions? And we know his ambitions in the Pacific. And we know that the US is very worried about that. So we need a good deal for the Ukrainians, but also for world peace.
My name is Ayla, and first I would like to thank the faculty's management for providing students lectures.
Speak louder, a bit louder.
I would like to thank the faculty's management for providing students lectures and conversations from prominent figures of political and security world, and I would like to thank you, sir, for accepting that call and being willing to answer our questions. So, given the recent political crisis caused by Milorad Dodik's successionist moves in Republika Srpska, how does NATO see its role in safeguarding Bosnia's territorial integrity, especially if internal destabilization is encouraged by external actors like Russia? Thank you.
Greetings and welcome. I have one question.
Who is that?
Here.
Yes.
Again, welcome. I have one question. How can we prevent the spread of fear? I mean, we have the situation in the eastern part of Bosnia, in the Republika of Srpska, that those Bosniaks who are returnees are fleeing in fear. I mean, we have like 40 people fled from eastern Bosnia in fear. How can we stop that? Thank you.
Yeah, well, the two questions are a little bit on the same subject with different angles. And again, first of all, it's up to you. This is a sovereign country. So it's up to the Bosnian leadership to deal with this. And that was my message this morning, because I am always a bit amazed, sometimes a bit puzzled, that when you speak to senior Bosnian-Herzegovina politicians, that they start to question you about Dayton, yes or no, about the High Representative, yes or no. And my reaction always is, hey guys, if you don't like it, take things in your own hands as a collective. And that's why your presidency has been well designed, because you have the three big groups here in Bosnia-Herzegovina represented in the presidency as it is currently organized. But that means moving from commenting on things to taking leadership. And they can. I mean, as I said, I know them all three, so why not? And it means dialoguing. It means sitting together. My country was built. I mean, my country would never have existed with all the infighting we had through the ages if people would not sit together and try to build bridges and maybe have agreements to disagree, etc. But part of that, of course, is accepting realities. And there is a court ruling, we have data, we have the High Representative, and all these institutions need to be respected. We have you for Althea here, with the full backup, of course, of NATO and support. NATO particularly busy here with helping you to build your military and your capabilities in the security domain. By the way, when you speak to your politicians, they could spend a little bit more on their armed forces. 0.78% is even less than Luxembourg, and Luxembourg is the absolute laggard at the moment in Europe when it comes to defense spending. So please, at least surpass Luxembourg. You could. And this, you could say Luxembourg is very rich, yeah, but this is a GDP key, eh? So this is how much you spend compared to your GDP, and then 0.78%, and then almost 90% of that spent on salaries and not on other stuff. It's not good. So it has to be increased, and I very much push that message, both with the presidency as well as with the chairwoman of the Council of Ministers, because that is important. But again, NATO is not here to focus on Dodik or Republika Srpska. It is here to help you to keep this country safe. And as I said, we cannot have another security vacuum in this country. It's not acceptable.
Especially the power sharing, the ethnic power sharing that we have, I believe makes it a bit difficult for the 3 presidents and 14 governments to take a joint leadership. So do you think that maybe a modification of Dayton with the assistance of the international community would be a way to help the country, the young people, etc.?
Hello once again. Thank you for visiting our faculty and our country. Let's say I'm a future Bosnian politician and you are my political advisor. How would you advise me for my country to enter NATO when I have half of the country who doesn't really like NATO? Thank you.
Well, I'm not sure that even I then will be able to solve that. But to that second question, and by the way, thank you all for being so extremely welcoming, and thank you for being here again. It's really a wonderful opportunity, this exchange. Again, NATO, yes or no, membership and becoming an ally is a sovereign decision for every nation. So in the end, you've got to somehow solve that. And if you understand that you will be in favor, so let's assume you are the senior politician here, it means dialoguing with your colleagues. And by the way, when you do not agree yet on exactly the outcome, design a roadmap. And the nice thing about NATO and Bosnia-Herzegovina is that we have a roadmap. Maybe not officially declared, but when you look at it, we now have an agreement on the reform program 2024. We hope to have an agreement on the reform program 2025 soon. This DCB package, we are working on that. Again, it is not an alternative for more defense spending here, but it helps in other areas. We are working on bringing the relationship on a more secure footing in terms of what is then called an ITTP, is that the right abbreviation? And that is a sort of program which builds on what we are doing so far, but much more detailed. And we have that with many countries, so that's all happening. And that's exactly what I said this morning. We might not agree on yes or you might not agree yes or no NATO membership, becoming a full ally, but we do agree both on practical steps going forward. And then sometimes when you do that, you think, hey, this is great, we should have more of this. Well, if you want even more, you have to become a member. That time comes, not yet, but at a certain time you would say, yeah, we now have the full deal. Why not become an ally? And that's also to the other question on Dayton. I think if you look in 50 or 100 years, you probably would not have Dayton as it is now. Probably you have made changes to it. But again, you have to do it with the 3 constituent peoples, the 3 big groups in this country together. It's again about dialoguing, and again this could be about a roadmap, if you want to change things. And again, it could start by taking the affairs in your own hands. So not complaining about the High Representative, but not needing the High Representative because you take your own sovereign decisions. But then you need to agree with the 3 groups. And I think that's possible. And the good thing about the design of that Troika presidency is that they all, of course, have their own relations with their own real constituents. So not only constituent peoples, but let's say constituencies. They have those relations. They can dialogue with them. They can move forward. So that's how I would do it. When you do not agree on a roadmap. It always helps. You have to do it step by step. But at least take decisions. And as Tony Blair said, there's nothing... You can take sometimes wrong decisions. The worst thing is not taking decisions. That's the biggest risk. Your voters will always accept wrong decisions. They will not accept not deciding.
Can you hear me? Okay, perfect.
Sure.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you again for coming, sir. I'll just cut to right here.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll just cut to the chase. You already previously have emphasized the importance of renewing the mandate of EUFOR in Bosnia. My question is, if this renewal were to face any obstacles, like let's say Russia vetoing it, what would be any contingency plans from NATO for security and stability for this country? Is it going to be just reinforcing the existing mission, or it's going to be forming a new one, like stabilization forces till 2004?
First of all, welcome to Sarajevo. My name is Yahya. I'm a student of the Faculty of Criminology. So I guess, first of all, like young people in Bosnia are currently concerned about their safety due to some anti-constitutional actions from Republika Srpska. So can you please convey this to our partners? I guess my question would be, is there any reason for people to be concerned about the potential war conflict in Bosnia and Herzegovina? And in that case of a potential war conflict in Bosnia, how would NATO respond? Would NATO be in support of Bosnia in that case? Thank you. And
both are what-if questions. And what I found today with all the senior politicians I spoke with, nobody wants a return to the 1990s. Nobody wants that. And as I said, NATO would not accept a security vacuum. So nobody wants that. And the European Union, EUFOR is here to help you guys to make sure that this country is as safe and as stable as possible. So obviously, if, for example, on EUFOR, if that would not work out, I think it is in November up for re-election, Tom, I think, in the Security Council. Last November it went well. If not, I will not here then speculate about what then might happen, because I'm fairly cautiously optimistic that when it was, we were able to continue it last November, we will do it again in November this year. And if not, we will sit together and make sure that we find a way out. But I don't think that will happen. There is widespread support for what EUFOR is doing here. And as you know, last week, the European Union announced to invest even more in EUFOR. And make sure that given the situation, wherever necessary, they would put extra people in. So that's all very positive. So I would not speculate about that. And the same about if things go wrong here in terms of the security situation. Yes, there are tensions now about Dodik, about Republika Srpska, I know. And that's why I'm calling upon everybody to stick with legal court rulings, the legal procedures, the political traditions you have established in this country, because in the end it will be the institutions and the leadership of the politicians filling those institutions which prevent this spinning into more than a political issue. It should stay a political issue and it should be solved. But in the end, I strongly believe that before you come to some international body or to a high representative, that it should be your pride and your wish and your sovereign right, by the way, to decide it yourselves. But then you have to agree with the three groups. And again, I cannot think of a better body than that presidency, which then presents itself to the people instead of presenting their disagreements to the people.
Hi, sir. Ivan from Security Studies Mostar. I would like to ask you if event of realization of possibility announced by President Trump about exiting NATO, what would be your vision about life of NATO in future? Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Ahmed from International Relations and Diplomacy in Faculty of Political Sciences in here. You have talked a lot in your previous answers about the need of collaboration, of working together in the presidency between free ethnic groups and all of that, and that's the only solution possible. And while I think all of us generally agree that that's the way it should be, let's respectfully take a step back and analyze who are we supposed to work with. The largest party in Republic of Srpska is Dodik's party, which gets the most votes from the citizens, which is a pro-Russian, secessionist, nationalist, far-right party. Would you go to Germany and say to their citizens, well, you should work with AfD because, well, you know, you should collaborate? Would you go to Austria and say to them that they should work together with their far-right party? I think when we're speaking about working together, we are either ignoring the fact that we are supposed to work with a far-right party from Republic of Srpska. Do you honestly see a way of doing that? How do you envision that working together in the presidency? I mean, do you really honestly see Željka Cvijanović and the other two members of presidency agreeing? Do you really see the parties in Republic of Srpska agreeing with stuff that is beneficial for the state of Bosnia and Herzegovina?
But what is then your solution?
Well, currently our best bet is working with the opposition in Republic of Srpska. Arguably, they are not far better, but yeah, that's currently like the best bet, working with anybody that is not Dodik. But you can see that we do still have a problem.
But do you think that they will be very enthusiastic to work with you if you talk about them like that?
Well, I'm not
extreme
saying
right wing, and even the opposition is worse, etc. You're saying all that.
But they are that.
I don't know. I'm not an expert, but I don't think it is a good start.
But they are that. They are a right-wing party. They are that. I mean, just because, yeah, they are that. I'm not saying anything that's not correct. Now, just because they are not willing to work anyway. We are starting from a supposition that those parties are willing to work for the benefit of the state. Dodik is never going to work for the benefit of the state. So we have already tried that. I mean, those who follow the political situation can see that, for example, the Troika from the Federation, they have tried to work with Dodik. That has also failed. So it's not like we haven't tried the recipe of trying to work together. But that obviously isn't going well.
But at the same time, you cannot 30 years after Dayton still leave it to Mr. Schmid from Germany to decide. That's strange. That's not a sovereign country. So I support his position, again, that you don't misunderstand me. I think it is good that the High Representative is here, full support. But in the end, for Bosnian politicians, Bosnian-Herzegovinian politicians to refer to somebody from outside the country is not grown-up behavior. I really don't think that is. And that's why I'm saying you've got to find a way out of this. And you have to organize yourselves. You are all highly versed, very communicative, very well phrased in your questions. So bang on the doors of those politicians and make this happen. And don't hope and stop hoping that somebody outside this country will save you. In the end, I said NATO is committed totally to our relationship. We are committed to your sovereignty and territorial integrity. We will not accept a security vacuum. But having said all that, it would be strange that some outside body would have to deal with this.
But respectfully, we haven't created this system. The international community did.
Created them
so
after 30 years. You're the next generation.
Some sort of responsibility towards us.
created. It is your country. Hey, on the Donald Trump question, he made clear last week 3 times, again, that he is committed to NATO, committed to Article 5. So that's absolutely clear. And we had a meeting last week with the ambassadors in Brussels, and some were worrying and saying, yeah, but can he not be a bit clearer? I said, well, you could also have turned on your television, because he was very clear 3 times last week. Or 2 weeks ago it was, when we had the visits of Starmer, Prime Minister UK, and President Macron, and also the first half hour of the Zelensky visit. He was extremely clear, committed to NATO, committed to Article 5. I was on the phone with him. I hope to visit him soon, and I have no doubt there. The US is committed to NATO, but they expect the European side, and by the way also the Canadian side of NATO, to spend much, much more on defense and have a fairer burden sharing, which is totally logical, because we are really funding some of our social programs here in Europe because the US is spending more on defense than we are, and that's not fair. So there is totally right. And when you look at last week, the 1 trillion announcement in Germany, the 800 billion announcement coming out of the EU, the announcement from Denmark, the UK and others, the Czech Republic, Belgium, we are getting there. We are ramping up defense spending, so now we have to produce. That's the next problem, production of defense industrial products.
Hi, well, once again, thank you for coming here and answering our answering our questions. I have a question considering the United States of America and how much influence the United States of America has on the Western world, especially the Balkans, and the political situation that is currently happening there with Donald Trump taking up presidency. How do you see that political situation affecting Bosnia and Herzegovina?
Give the mic to the other side.
Hi, it's an honor to have you here. I have a question on the part of the DCB program. So DCB.
DCB, yeah.
Yeah. NATO and other partners are committed to invest in our armed forces, BIH. I have a question on the DCB. It's a 54 million euro investment plan for BIH. Is it possible to take some part of the money, invest in our homemade defense companies, so we produce, make jobs, and etc., stronger armed forces for our country? So is it possible to some defense companies from NATO to have here with our defense companies make a mutual agreement like?
Of course, I would know the answer, but I want to make sure that the team is involved. No?
Thank you.
Hey,
good
other side of the room.
Yes, this side we are ex-students actually. Okay, thank you for coming, and it's really honored to be here with you. Let me share my biggest concern regarding EU4 actually. Dodik has already proposed that the EU4 should be deployed on the entity line in order to, as he said, prevent a conflict that actually no one is announcing at the moment. On the other hand, my opinion is that deployment of EU forces on the entity line would create actually a new factual situation on the ground. That's one thing. And the other thing is that it could actually protect the secessionism in a one way. And my opinion is that that way we could easily end up here as a Cyprus. So could you tell us what is your position in that hypothetical situation? Should it be bring it that way? It doesn't matter if it's EU4 or NATO. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, on the first question, US and Bosnia-Herzegovina, history made the United States the leader. But this leader has made clear, and I understand completely why, that they have to pivot more towards the Indo-Pacific. And they expect us here in this part of the world to take a fair share of the burden. And as I said, with all the money now being invested in defense last couple of weeks, all the announcements, that is no doubt going to happen. But that means that going forward, the US will play a big role in Europe, will play a big role in the Western Balkans, and will be very relevant. And always is my impression and my experience with the US trying to balance as much as possible all the security interests we collectively have. So I'm optimistic about that. About the DCB, I don't think you can use money to invest in your own defense industrial base. I think that really has to come from the state budget. And again, 0.78% is a bit low. So call your politicians and spend more. What we are doing, of course, through the DCB is strengthen capabilities in areas like crisis management. I would know this by heart, of course, but I just want to make sure that the people making these Q&As know that I use them. The capabilities in areas like crisis management, cyber defense, countering terrorism, enhance the armed forces of Bosnia and Herzegovina's interoperability with NATO. And this year we launched programs of activities in a number of domains, including counterterrorism, cyber defense, air evacuation, military police, and crisis management again. So that's good, but not this is not moving money from one budget to the other. Yeah, then to your question, there's press in the room. It's not a closed session with just a few people where you can start to think of what if, and then what if, and then what if. So I'm a bit hesitant on going into all these what ifs, because then it is not that I'm complaining about journalists, but they rightly would then write down, hey, Rutte was speculating that if this happens, then that, and then such, and then so. And I still think that we will be able collectively to solve all of this if cool minds prevail and we stick with some of the rules we collectively agreed on, and also in the interest of not going back to a situation we faced 30 years before. And EUFOR really plays a big role here. And NATO, of course, is smaller in setup, but still very much involved in Bosnia and Herzegovina through the various activities we have here, working closely with EUFOR, so EUFOR Althea. So I'm optimistic, but I won't go into some of the things you just mentioned, because that would really bring me into 3 levels down of what ifs.
Just 2 more questions, but now from the journalist, and we have it actually to finish. So,
the journalist, if they want to. Yep. How do we know whether he is a journalist or not? How does a journalist look like?
Mr. Rutte, Dario Shito, Reuters news agency. I mean, you already mentioned something, and there were questions about actually this U.S. request for more allocations to NATO and for defense. Actually, I just wanted your comment on the last week's statement by Donald Trump saying, U.S. President Donald Trump saying, if NATO members don't pay, U.S. wants to defend them. Does it mean that there will be differentiation between the NATO members regarding how much they are giving, how much of, percentage of GDP they are giving for defense? You yourself mentioned 0.7, probably from Bosnia. But, there are some NATO members who are giving less than 2% of GDP, which is now, or 3.5%, which will be required very soon. So does it mean actually that their defense, if they are attacked, will depend, actually the U.S. support in defense will depend on how much money they will give? I mean...
Maybe going into... yeah, sorry, yeah.
Can I? Yep. Yep, that's me. My name is Mirza Softic. I'm here. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My name is Mirza Softic, Al Jazeera. The journalist as well. Welkom in Bosnië. Het is mooi om u hier te zien.
Hey, dankjewel.
Ja, maar I'll continue in English because of the others. I used to live in the Netherlands for quite a while. And I don't know any prime minister but you. I've been there for 13 years.
The Netherlands is still democracy, but I was a bit wrong.
Yes, let's say that, yeah. So my question is, we actually hear all the time the phrasing, partnership with NATO, working together, working on this, working on that. But we don't hear anymore going towards NATO membership, both of Bosnia and Kosovo. So I would like to ask you clearly, are we going towards NATO membership or are we not going towards NATO membership? I know it's up to us, but what do you think? Are we going or not? Both Bosnia and Kosovo. Thank you.
Yes, well, I'll start with that question and come to your question. At the end, you gave the answer. It is up to the Bosnian authorities, of course, Bosnian-Herzegovinian authorities. For me, very difficult to predict. What I'm seeing is a deepening cooperation. With everybody I spoke to today was very positive about taking the next steps. And we all agreed that where there is a disagreement about yes or no applying for full membership, for becoming a full ally, a full-time ally of NATO, that it doesn't make sense to discuss that, but to indeed stick with the immediate future, which is building on what we have. And that's what we are doing through the DCB, through the ITPP, the fact that the reform program was agreed now for 2024 in March this year, and the Council of Ministers told me they want to adopt the reform program for 2025 soonest. So I'm positive about that, and then we'll take it from here. And I cannot, I cannot predict the future, but I think this is good that we do this together, but it's very difficult to predict exactly what happens. And on the question of spending, I mean, Donald Trump has been very clear on that he expects the Europeans and the Canadians to do more. By the way, he started this in 2016, when he became president, 2017. And he was very successful in his first term in ramping up defense spending in Europe. And since he became president again, the numbers coming in now are really staggering. As I said, Germany. When you look at the announcement the incoming coalition has been making last week, that was more than the Zeitenwende of 2022. It's about 10 times the Zeitenwende. When you add it all up, it is 1 trillion, I believe. The Zeitenwende was 100 billion. So this is an amazing amount of money, an amazing new development by the Germans. Probably also having a huge impact in positive sense on their economy, because it is not only defense spending, but also infrastructure and all that. I really, the defense part, or the other part, of course, NATO has no position. But I think it is that people will like it in Germany. But the defense part, I really applaud. The European Union, the 800 billion package, agreed in 2 days. It was announced on Tuesday, and on Thursday, the European Council agreed. Well, I know the days when this would take you a year and a half to agree on half of this, and now it happened in 2 days. And again, all the other countries. So he has always been completely clear. We need to spend more, because the security situation has changed, particularly now with Putin and Russia ramping up defense production, but also China becoming more and more of an adversary. Look at their navy is now bigger than the US Navy. One of the issues, by the way, Trump mentioned in his State of the Union, that the US should start building navy ships again. Yes, and European companies can help. But that means making some changes to the rules in the US, one of the things we are discussing. So this is positive, and the overall defense spending is positive. So, and the ones not on 2%, I told them, I said, you've got to get there before the Hague Summit. Not in 2029 or 2031, you have to do it before the Hague Summit, and I'm happy to see that now, for example, Belgium has said we will be there before summer, and some of the others I really hope will follow. And then we have to decide in The Hague based on an assessment of the security situation, which we are making currently, the so-called capability targets and the gaps coming from that, what the new number should be, and it will be much, much more than 2%. Considerably, I think, more than 3%. But for an exact, precise decision, we have to wait a couple of weeks, maybe 1 or 2 months, and hopefully before The Hague we can get there. But the ones not on 2% really have to get there.
So, Mr. Secretary General, thank you for spending this hour with us and for engaging with the students. I hope that your next visit will be under better circumstances here in Bosnia-Herzegovina. Thank you very much.
Okay, dear colleagues, welcome. Can you take your seats? Okay, we start with a few announcements on my side. First of all, dear colleagues, 2 years ago, on the 28th of February 2023, in Tempe, Greece, a tragic railway accident cost the lives of 57 people and injured even more. We mark a sad anniversary today as our hearts go out to the victims, to those who lost their loved ones, and to the injured who still bear the scars of that day. This House remembers them and honours them. Over the coming months, we will celebrate also the 35th anniversaries of the assertion of state continuity of Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania, enshrining their independence de jure under international law throughout different illegal occupations and annexations of the 20th century. These anniversaries remind us again of the sacrifice of so many for the liberty that we enjoy today, and underscore our determination never to allow another generation of Europeans to be lost behind an iron curtain. Tomorrow at noon, we will once again welcome national leader of Belarus, Svetlana Tsikhanouskaya, to this plenary, along with other brave women from Ukraine and Belarus, who are standing up for liberty in order to mark International Women's Day. May I ask that you are present, and I count on you and your colleagues to be here then, because this week will also serve to reaffirm this House's steadfast support for the people of Belarus in their struggle for freedom, including political prisoners, and to express the solidarity and to mark the International Day of Solidarity with Belarus. The European Parliament is once again offering you, as members of this Parliament, the opportunity to sign postcards addressed to the 1,250 political prisoners that are unfairly imprisoned by Lukashenko's regime. I urge you to join in this action to show them that their sacrifice will not remain unanswered. Last year, this initiative was extremely successful. In the previous mandate, in the previous Parliament, I ask that we make this year's even more. We know their names, we see their struggle, and we stand with them. So this message and this initiative will send the strongest of messages that they are not alone. Thank you. Now, dear colleagues, the session which was adjourned on the 13th of February 2025 is reopened. We have the minutes of the sitting adopted of 13th February 25. They are available, and therefore, are there any comments? If not, the minutes will be deemed approved. The ECR and Greens groups and the non-attached members have notified me of decisions relating to changes to appointments within committees and delegations. These decisions will be set out in the minutes of today's sitting and take effect on the date of this announcement. The LIBE and ENVI committees have transmitted corrigenda to texts adopted by the Parliament. Pursuant to Rule 251, these corrigenda will be deemed approved unless no longer than 24 hours after their announcement. A request is made by a political group or members reaching at least a low threshold that they be put to the vote. The corrigenda are available on the plenary webpage. Their title will be published in the minutes of this sitting. I'd like to also announce that pursuant to Rule 47(2) of our Rules of Procedure, I have declared admissible two proposals for a Union Act, one on employment protection for the activities of police officers, military personnel, prison officers and customs and border officials, classifying them as high-risk occupations in the EU. The proposal is referred to the Committee on Employment and Social Affairs, and another one on the need to extend the period for implementation of the Recovery and Resilience Facility. This proposal is referred to the Committee on Budgets, the Committee on Economic and Monetary Affairs as committees responsible, as well as to the Committee on Employment, the Committee on the Environment, the Committee on Industry, Research and Energy, and the Committee on Transport and Tourism for opinion. On Wednesday, 5th of March, the Conference of Presidents adopted the proposal for the calendar of part sessions for the parliamentary year 2026. The dates are available on the plenary webpage, and the deadlines are as follows. Amendments today at 7 p.m. Roll call votes Tuesday 11th March at 4 p.m. The vote will then take place on Wednesday 12th March at noon. I'd like to inform the House that I have received multiple requests for points of order. I will go through them one by one. First, I give the floor to Ms. Irache Garcia Perez.
Thank you, President. Dear colleagues, today marks 5 years since the start of COVID-19. We remember those who died and honour their memory. Faced with the difficult challenge, the European Union worked together in a way we hadn't seen before. We bought vaccines together. We made a digital certificate to help travel safely. We created the Next Generation EU to help our economies recover. This initiative showed that the EU acted together to protect its citizens. Now we face new challenges, like the threat of war. Let us not forget how we handle the COVID-19. We need to be bold and stay united. By learning from that time, we can build a more resilient and cohesive Europe. This helps us face any future crisis with determination and unity. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia Perez. I give the floor next to Ms. Zeliana Zovko.
Right, thank you. Madam President, dear colleagues, I would like to draw your attention. To the situation of minorities in Syria. In recent days, multiple sources indicated that both the Alawite population and Syria's shrinking Christian community have been deliberately targeted. Extremist factions associated with militant groups have reportedly executed civilians, including women and children. Christian families have endured brutal killings and violent raids at the hands of armed militants who have stormed homes, seized belongings and claimed innocent lives. The European Union must take decisive action in support of stability and humanitarian relief efforts to alleviate the suffering of the Syrian people, including Christians and other affected communities. Christianity in Syria and in some other parts of the Middle East, North of Africa region is at critical crossroads. It will either endure or it will vanish, leaving behind a profound religious, ethnic and cultural void. Europe must not remain indifferent to this existential threat. International Action Service, with its press release, it's shameful that they did not take this into account. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Zovko. Now I give the floor to Ms. Aphrodite Latinopoulou.
Κυρία Πρόεδρε, ευχαριστώ. Τοποθετούμε της εφαρμογής του κανονισμού βάσει των άρθρων 10 και 164. Μετά την τελευταία διάσκεψη των Προέδρων που υιοθέτησε την ημερήσια διάταξη, ο Ευρωβουλευτής του ECR, ο κ. Φράγκος, με επίσημη ανακοίνωσή του και με το λογότυπο του ECR πάνω της, διέσπρε fake news στους Έλληνες πολίτες πως η συγκεκριμένη Ολομέλεια είναι αρμόδια να διερευνήσει το σιδηροδρομικό δυστύχημα των τεμπών, διαβάλλοντας τόσο τους πατριώτες όσο και εμένα προσωπικά ότι δήθεν εμποδίσαμε την έρευνα του εγκλήματος. Όλοι γνωρίζουμε, αγαπητοί συνάδελφοι, πως αυτό είναι μια χυδαία συκοφαντία κατά όλων μας. Είμαι σίγουρη πως το ECR θα καταδικάσει τα ψέματα του κ. Φράγκου, ο οποίος όχι μόνο προσπάθησε να εξαπατήσει τους Έλληνες με μόνο σκοπό να διασύρει την πατρίδα του, αλλά και να πατήσει πάνω σε νεκρούς, πηγαίνοντας χέρι-χέρι με τους αριστερούς. Κύριε Φράγκο, να χαίρεστε τον πατριωτισμό σας. Εσχεμένα συκοφαντήσατε τους θεσμούς που υποτίθεται πως υπηρετείτε. Και αγαπητό ECR, να χαίρεστε το μέλος σας που ακόμα κρύβεται αντί να ζητήσει συγγνώμη. Σε αυτή την Ολομέλεια οι σοβαροί πατριώτες έχουμε ιερό χρέος να προστατεύουμε τόσο τους θεσμούς όσο και τις πατρίδες μας. Ευρωβουλευτές και συμπεριφορές τύπου Φράγκου δεν είναι ανεκτές.
I give the floor next to Ms. Kunke.
Dear Madam President, dear colleagues, I take the floor under Rule 39. The right to be who you are, to love who you want and to live your life free from discrimination is a fundamental European right. That right is clearly under attack. At this critical moment, the decision by the European Commission to announce the withdrawal of the horizontal anti-discrimination directive came as a shock. It also represents a betrayal of all the EU citizens who are currently lacking protection against discrimination. It is time for the EU to show global leadership against discrimination, not to back down. As the European Parliament's rapporteur for this directive, I strongly condemn this decision and I urge the European Commission to immediately reconsider it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kuhnke. Now I give the floor to Mr. De Masi.
Frau Präsidentin, herzlichen Dank. Ich beziehe mich auf Artikel 167 der Geschäftsordnung für Angelegenheiten von besonderem Interesse. Eine Kollegin hat es bereits angesprochen. Wir sind Zeuge von schlimmsten Gräueltaten in Syrien gegen die alawitische Minderheit geworden in den letzten Tagen. Und der European External Action Service hat ein wirklich groteskes Pressestatement herausgegeben, in dem er die Verantwortung für diese Gräueltaten implizit pro-Assad-Kräften zugesprochen hat. Und man muss wirklich kein Freund des Assad-Regimes sein, um zu erkennen, dass das wirklich groteske Fake News waren. Und ich finde, es muss ein deutliches Signal von diesem Parlament ausgehen, dass wir so etwas nicht dulden hier in diesen heiligen Hallen. Vielen Dank.
So as to ensure that we don't allow such fake news to be spread here.
Thank you, Mr. De Masi. Now, Ms. Boylan.
Thank you, Madam President. I wish to raise a point of order relating to the agenda item on the deteriorating situation in Gaza. On February 24th, the official mission of this Parliament's Delegation for Relations with Palestine, of which I am the chair, was supposed to take place. Instead, myself, Rima Hassan MEP and two officials of this Parliament were detained by the Israeli authorities and subsequently deported. While detained by the Israeli authorities, our electronic devices held by members and staff of the delegation were confiscated for over 90 minutes. Our passports, including an Irish diplomatic passport, was confiscated and were not returned to us until we arrived back in Brussels. This all took place on the same day that the EU-Israel Association Council was taking place, and EU leaders were committing themselves to continue business as usual with Israel, while the Israeli authorities were not allowing us as elected officials to do our jobs. So I ask you, Madam President, that you address this matter urgently.
Thank you. I will. Now, finally, the floor goes to Mr. Mavridis.
Madam President, I will be quite short because the subject has already been mentioned by some of my colleagues. It's with regards to the situation in Syria. Based on reports by agencies that were our sources of information during the Assad regime, hundreds of people have been murdered in their homes, thousands were tortured and kidnapped, including kids and women and men, and much more were expelled by the new jihadist regime simply because the victims are Alawites, Druze or Christians. For this reason, I will kindly ask the following. Let's show our conscience by observing 1 minute silence.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let's see how we take it. We have also a debate on this matter where I ask all the members to speak also during that debate. Let's come to the order of business. The final draft agenda as adopted by the COP on the 6th of March pursuant to Rule 163 has been distributed. In accordance with Rule 9.9, the following report is added to the final draft agenda for a vote on Tuesday. Report by Mr. Dainius Zalimas on the request for the waiver of the immunity of Adam Bielan. With the agreement of the political groups, I also wish to put to the House the following proposal for changes to the final draft agenda for Tuesday. The order of debates in the afternoon will change as follows. The debate on the presentation of the proposal on Critical Medicines Act will be taken as the second point, and the debate on the presentation of the proposal on a new common approach on returns will be taken as the third point. If there are no objections to this, then the change will be approved, and we now move to changes requested by the political groups, starting with Wednesday. The ECR group has requested that Council and Commission statements on recent events in Romania, the ongoing investigation into the presidential candidate, be added as the 5th point in the afternoon before the debate on frozen Russian assets. As a consequence, the sitting would be extended to 11. I give the floor to Mr. Gheorghe Piperea to move the request on behalf of the ECR.
În decurs de 3 luni, România a reușit recordul de a interzice 2 candidați de a anula o rundă de alegeri și de a aresta un candidat fără probe. Sistemul judiciar este acum o armă politică utilizabilă împotriva oricui. Ambii competitori care au câștigat turul 1 al alegerilor din 24 noiembrie 2024, ambii, inclusiv Lasconi, și cărora li s-a refuzat turul 2, consideră că anularea alegerilor și interzicerea unor candidați sunt ilegitime. Precedentul românesc s-ar putea extinde în toată Uniunea, fapt care ar determina destrămarea încrederii poporului în democrație și în justiție. Nu ne dorim asta, stimați colegi. Fundamentul democratic al Uniunii Europene este reprezentat de pluralismul politic și alegeri libere. Dar sistemul birocratic european nu are încredere în noțiunile omului de rând, pe care îl vede inapt de decizii de vot responsabile. Pentru binele mai mare, Uniunea Europeană a instituit scutul democratic european ca un fel de vaccin antichirurgic. Dar ce ne face asta diferiți de Uniunea Sovietică?
So does any of the colleagues want to speak against? Does anyone would like? Okay, Mr. Stefanutsa, go ahead.
Madam President, based on the rule of law and based on democracy, having such a debate would undermine the very principle of legality in the middle of an ongoing election. Let me tell you something. The proponent that came with this proposal tonight, his party leader yesterday incited for skinning alive of those who made this, who he considers responsible for this. And this in the middle of riots that were violent. Enough with the violence. He said it was a metaphor. Well, a metaphor is what Shakespeare said, that the world is a stage. A metaphor is not when you say skinning people alive, when you put women down, when you put minorities down, when you go against the constitutional base of the country, when you say that ethnicities are less than people. So enough with the hate. Let's not export the hate. Romanians deserve a European, modern, democratic life.
Thank you. So we will put the request of the ECR group to a vote by roll call, and the vote is open. Vote is closed. And it is rejected, so the agenda is unchanged. We move to now a request by the ESN group for Wednesday as well, that has requested that a Commission statement on presidential elections in Romania, particularly the Constitutional Court's ruling of 8th of March, be added as the 2nd point in the afternoon. I give the floor to Ms. Christine Anderson to move the request.
Thank you. Romania has now barred Călin Ceausescu, as my colleague Pipera just pointed out. This is unprecedented in the EU member states. Ladies and gentlemen, if democracy were to effect change, that is the sole reason for having a democracy. You can effect change. But what we're seeing now is actually the people can vote for whoever they want, and if the candidate they don't like, they just bar him or put him in jail. We cannot, as Democrats, we cannot stand for this. The European Commission states, in a healthy democracy, citizens can freely choose their leaders. If the Romanian people choose Ceausescu, why do we interfere and why do we stop it? This has nothing to do with democracy. We need to have a debate on this to get back to our senses. I urge you to vote for this proposal. Thank you.
Okay. Does any colleague want to speak against? Okay, I see a hand up there. Go ahead. Mr. Fidias.
No, Sieper.
Mr. Sieper, yeah, I can't see it from far.
Thank you, Madam President. Dear colleagues, yes, I had a mustache gun, if you not recognize me. I was just wondering to that colleague that said, if the people elected this candidate, they didn't elect this candidate in a fair election. It was an election that was scammed by Russian propaganda and Russian bots and Russian influence. And I know that you are fond of stuff like this because it tends to help you as well in our elections. But democracy also includes the free will of the people without manipulation, without foreign interference. And that's the problem here. And it is not that a fair election was taken away. It is that a scammed election was taken away. And if the institutions, the Constitutional Court, the Board of Elections decides like this, you have to respect it. And you cannot just cry aloud because the candidate that you wanted to win was taken away. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, let's put the request to the vote of, for the ESN group request to a vote by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. And it is rejected. So the agenda remains unchanged. Now, final request by the Greens group that for Wednesday has requested a Commission statement on secessionists' threats in Bosnia and Herzegovina and the recent escalation to be added as the last point in the afternoon. As a consequence, the sitting would be extended to 11 p.m. I give the floor to Ms. Tineke Strik to move this request on behalf of the Green Group.
Dear Chair, colleagues, amidst all major recent geopolitical developments and our discussions about increasing European security, we must make sure to pay attention to the developments in Bosnia. In recent weeks, the situation became extremely explosive after the President of Republika Srpska, Milorad Dodik, took further illegal steps towards judicial succession from the state of Bosnia and Herzegovina in response to his conviction by the Bosnian Constitutional Court for undermining the Dayton Peace Accords. And as Putin's puppets in the Balkans, Dodik may do anything the Kremlin tells him, including waging war. So this escalation requires a rapid and strong EU response, as we are not secure without a secure Bosnia. So the Greens IFA group therefore proposes the debate with the title Commission Statement on Secessionist Threats in Bosnia and Herzegovina and the Recent Escalation without resolution, and we would like to extend the meeting on Wednesday then to 11 p.m.
All right, thank you. So I give the floor to the colleagues who want to speak against. Ms. Zovko.
Right. I strongly commend, Madam President, the intention to speak on Bosnia and Herzegovina and the situation in Bosnia and Herzegovina regarding the recent US approach towards Bosnia, towards multilateral organization and towards unresolved situation regarding electoral law reform in Bosnia and Herzegovina. 30 years after Dayton, we still have a High Representative who is receiving 26,000 euros a month to keep Bosnia and Herzegovina, what? In disarray? We have to address the real issue, that is electoral law reform. We have to close OHR office. We have to bring Bosnia and Herzegovina to European Union because America is leaving. OHR office is staying only with Christian Schmidt, and Peace Implementation Council is highly influenced by Turkey and Russia. This is something that we cannot neglect in this debate. I will join the debate. I'm not speaking against the debate, but this debate should be extended and the title to urgent need to change electoral law reform in Bosnia and Herzegovina and end with international presence. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. There is an issue with the timing here because with the deadlines as we have, the title cannot be changed, but so we vote on the Greens request. So we put the request to a vote by show of hands. Who is in favor? Who is against? Who abstains? Okay, it is approved and therefore we will have the debate. That means that the agenda is adopted and the order of business is thus established.
Okay, colleagues, please, if you want to have a small discussion, have them outside of the hemicycle so we can start to proceed with the next agenda item. Ďakujem. Ďalším, colleagues, please, if you want to talk, can you please do it outside of the hemicycle, but even better would be if you stay for the next debate, because indeed it's an important one. Ďalším bodom programu je vyhlásenie komisie podpora najzraniteľnejších regiónov EÚ v súvislosti s ničivými účinkami zmeny klímy, ako bol nedávny cyklón na Reunióne. Informujem poslancov, že bude len jedno kolo rečníkov politických skupín, preto sa nebude uplatňovať postup prihlásenia sa o slovo s vyhnutím ruky a nebudú akceptované žiadne modré karty. A na úvod rozpravy som poprosil pána komisára Kubiliusa.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, welcome. We're thankful to have you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, welcome. We're thankful to have you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, welcome. We're thankful to have you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
again. Thank you very much. Mr. President, welcome. We're thankful to have you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, welcome. We're thankful to have you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, welcome. We're thankful to have you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, welcome. We're thankful to have you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. President, welcome. We're thankful to have you. Thank you. Mr. President, welcome. We're thankful to have you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. President, welcome. We're thankful to have you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, welcome. We're thankful to have you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. President, welcome. We're thankful to have you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, welcome. We're thankful to have you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, welcome. We're thankful to have you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, welcome. We're thankful to have you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, welcome. We're grateful to have you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, welcome. We're grateful to have you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, welcome. We're grateful to have you. Thank you.
You're welcome.